We got some real sad news, a sad story, a unsolved mystery. This man just vanished without a trace. It's been weeks. This guy's in his 70s. He traveled over 8,000 miles, 8,200 miles to be exact, from Kenya to the south in the US of A, and just vanished. He flew all the way here, prepared with gifts, family pictures, something to share with his grandson for his grandson's high school graduation, right? And then he left his son's house, his grandson's father's house. He's just gone, vanished without a trace. The last thing that was seen of him timeline-wise was about 90 minutes after he was left. There was footage of him on the Ring doorbell camera just walking off. And he was ready to go for the day, dressed in khakis, like kind of dress suits deal. You know what I mean? Ready for the high school graduation. He ends up being seen at a gas station, waves at the attendant, asks where the bathroom is, goes and uses it, exits out the back, and that's it. And here we are now. It's been 7 weeks. There's been flyers posted everywhere. Searches have been in effect and no results. I mean, hopefully this guy just wandered off, as there is health concerns, but we're going to delve more into it. It's just a real sad story. And you know, it's a trip, man. When I lived in Florida, I swear to God, I had this neighbor that lived behind me, right? My kid used to play with a friend of hers, and the grandmother, they lived just a block, same block, street behind us. One day, he said the grandmother just walked off, right? Never seen again. Missing posters everywhere. The sheriffs went around door to door handing out flyers. Nothing. Still to this day. It's pretty crazy. Me and my daughter were just talking about this a couple weeks ago, within the last month at the most. And she was just like, yeah, it was so odd. She just, I guess, walked off and was never seen again. And the woman, this guy's 72. This woman was older as well. Now, in both of these instances, like with this guy, they're talking about dementia. But the way they speak in it, I'm not trying to say in any way that I believe that the family did anything or anything like that. That's not what I mean. I'm hoping that nothing happened to this guy, that if he does indeed have dementia, he just is missing, just walked off and is unaware of where he is, and that he'll be found and he'll be all right. But the way that the reports speak of his condition is just a bit odd to me. But he came from Kenya, and my daughter's friend's grandmother that vanished, she was from Haiti, and she was, I believe, in her 70s as well. And she was said to have had mental issues and off her meds. That's what's in all the reports about her missing. But like I said, still to this day, no traces of this woman. And this was back in like 2015 or 16. So we're talking about like a decade. It's scary. It's mind-boggling. But Haiti and Kenya, culturally, atmospherically, I guess, are very different than the US of A, I believe. You know what I mean? Comment, everyone out there, if you feel that that could lead into someone who, if they are, mentally ill, or in this case have dementia, being more confused, because it just seems like a different type of atmosphere than where they have spent the majority of their life. Comment and let me know what you think about all that. But this gentleman that we're speaking of, his name is Ruben Waithaka. I hope that I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Again, 72 years old, apologies, traveled 8,200 miles to be here for his grandson's graduation. That obviously went on without him being there. The wife has now gone back home to Kenya, you know what I mean, to be with family. But this was in Alabama, where they traveled to. And like I said, he showed up. He had sentimental gifts in his suitcase, faded photos of him and his son. And then, the grandson, was going to be a big moment. 3 generations of family all there on this proud day. And he never made it. He just walks out the door and vanishes. Very, very sad. And the day that he went missing, he and his wife landed in the U.S. He walked out of the house in Alabama and vanished. Now, as we stated, 7 weeks had passed, no results. Searches have went on with choppers, drones, off-road vehicles, tracking dogs, infrared heat-seeking cameras. Nothing. That's a lot of resources put into this search. And the search that I was speaking about too, of my daughter's friend's grandmother, I know they searched the woods and everything as well. And here we are a decade later, and she never turned up. But back to speaking about Ruben, who's missing, right? It was 11:08 a.m., like I said, when they got that Ring doorbell footage, which you'll see in this video of him leaving the crib. And then, an hour and a half later, when he went to the gas station, used the bathroom, and then just went out the back and was gone. The grandson was quoted as saying he just got here and then he was gone. And the graduation was 5 days later. I apologize. So it was the day after he landed that this happened. And then the graduation was 5 days after he landed. So that's just, a little more accuracy on the timeline. Now, it sounds like the guy's son is beating himself up a bit, right? He was quoted as saying, "Sometimes I regret why I asked my parents to come to my son's graduation. I find myself wondering, what would I have done differently? Maybe if I hadn't invited them, my dad would still be with us." But, the what coulds, should I, shoulda, coulda, wouldas, it can be toxic thinking at times, especially in a situation like this. It's not like they were going on a limb for some crazy trip or anything like this. This was a proud day in the family's history, 3 generations together, grandson graduating. You know what I mean? Well, you can't think that way, but I understand the guy going there in his mind. Obviously, I'm sure in stressful times people can relate. You just get to tripping and thinking all different kinds of avenues or whatever. But it's just sad to hear this guy beating himself up. Now, listen to this though that I was speaking of. And again, I'm not trying to say the family did anything wrong. I'm reporting on this, hoping that no person with ill intentions or someone fucked up try to rob this guy or did something just wrong, any foul play. Do you know what I mean? So again, I just want to make that clear. But like I was speaking of, they're referencing dementia, apologies. But the way that the media delves into it, it just, I don't know. Let me know what you think of it. It just had me kind of like, I don't know. It's odd the way they reference it. It says, how they've retraced his steps, watched the surveillance over and over. They've searched for clues. And they're just saying, how does a 5'5", 160-pound, 72-year-old man disappear in broad daylight in a foreign country where he barely knows anyone? This guy knows nobody but his family. Now listen to this. They've considered the possibility that Waithaka had undiagnosed dementia or another condition that was triggered by the stress of being away from home. It's not uncommon for people with dementia to wander away from home, especially when they're in unfamiliar surroundings, experts say. So I'm not saying that's odd or anything, but just them saying they consider it. It's like, I don't know. Did no one notice anything before? Are they trying to say that they feel like the dementia just may have kicked in right now? Like, obviously it's got to start somewhere at some point, but the way that they're talking about is like, it doesn't seem like there was ever any issues with this guy until this trip, right? There was a quote saying, "I want to be hopeful. I really do. I believe this is his daughter. But sometimes I wonder, did he sit somewhere and fall asleep in the heat and never wake up?" Which I know she's panicking. If that were to happen, I'm sure someone had found him. I hope that that didn't happen. But getting back to the whole dementia talk, right? They say that he wasn't himself on the flights to the U.S. Looking back, Waidaka seemed restless on his trip to the U.S. At the time, his family figured it was just exhaustion from the 18-hour journey, his son says. And man, flying, just period, especially if you don't do it a lot. Like I just did a lot of flying recently without flying for years, and I do not like flying. I have a fear of flying, but period. You know, there's just something about the altitude, changing the oxygen in your blood, jet lag, different things like that, the anxiety of it all. It can be much. His parents' flight took off from the Kenyan capital of Nairobi on May 13th. Waidaka drove his small sedan to the airport where they boarded a Lufthansa flight through Frankfurt, Germany to Atlanta. Lufthansa, ain't that the Lufthansa? Remember the heist in Goodfellas? It's a crazy story, man. But just before heading to the airport, he did his usual routine. Picked up some yard litter, fed his 5 German shepherds, and cleaned up their space. He'd hired someone to care for the dogs while they were gone, his son says. So, do you get what I'm saying? Again, I'm not trying to point the finger at the family. I'm just saying, like, that the media, the information here is like, are they saying he had undiagnosed dementia, or the flight kicked the dementia in somehow, the stressful conditions of flying across the globe did this, or what? But then they're saying, you know, like, that he seemed agitated and all that on the flight, but then they're saying before he left, he did his routine. He set everything up for them to be away, fed the dogs, you know, tapped in with people to let them know they were going to be gone, even hired someone to take care of everything. There's a picture of, you know, the grandson who ended up graduating without him being there. The flight went to Frankfurt, went fine, but things went downhill on the journey's second leg to Atlanta. Waidaka became incoherent and agitated, and a flight attendant had to step in to help his wife, help him be seated. The son says this. So, I don't know, guys. Do you think that that could be what it is, just in your opinion? You know what I mean? A missing person like this, just such a sad story. Could the stress of this flight have done it? His unease didn't end after landing in Atlanta. He appeared confused and fell and hurt his knee when he tried to go the wrong way on an escalator in the airport. His limp from that fall is visible on the gas station security footage. Jet-lagged and exhausted, Waidaka showered, took a nap, ate breakfast of fried eggs and tea. Then he stepped outside. His wife followed initially, but when she rushed back to close the garage door, that was it. He was gone. And, you know, the family also, this is another thing, was begging people to stop giving him rides. I don't know if they're saying that this is something that he had done in the past back home or there, because that's another thing that I was saying that's odd about the way the information is being reported. Like, they're saying he went missing the next day, but then they're mentioning it like people had given him rides before and they told people, yo, cut it out. It says Waidaka got 2 rides from motorists after he left his son's home that morning. No. So this is while he was in the U.S., giving him a significant head start. His family believed those rides changed everything. Investigators interviewed both people who gave him rides. Waidaka first asked a neighbor to drop him off 8 houses away, mistakenly thinking it was his son's home. There, he flagged down a DoorDash driver and asked for a ride, quote unquote, to town. The driver stopped at a gas station and Waidaka told him that location was fine. And the last confirmed sighting was at the gas station at 11:43 a.m. And again, this is 7 weeks ago at this point. A resident later reported seeing someone matching his description entering a hunting club near the gas station. The woman told police that he crawled under a gate and disappeared into a wooded area, Hike says. So that's what's wild too, like I was saying, a situation where my daughter had a friend whose grandparent went missing like this, went missing as well, and was never found 10 years later. God forbid, hearing that, like hoping that that doesn't happen with this guy. But she also have said to just walk down the block, and then when people like approached her, just dipped off into the woods. And also in that situation, they did a lot of searching as well. I don't know that they used drones, but they used the flights or choppers and everything with infrared technology and all that. And police have interviewed people who live in the area several times. They speculate he may have caught another ride at a truck stop behind the gas station, potentially out of town. Shortly after he was reported missing, his family went on TV and begged for people to stop giving him rides. They fear each ride was taking him farther from home and from them. So, okay, I understand now about the rides. It was a bit confusing, initially when they were saying, like, was he doing this prior to coming to the States or what? But just, again, a scary, sad story that this guy seemingly left home across the globe being himself, you know what I mean? Amped to go to his grandson's graduation. Again, three generations of the family together for this big moment, sentimental gifts, everything ready to go, got the home in order, fed the dogs, paid someone to take care of the crib, and then this all happens. Like, I wonder if there is a link between flights and, causing extreme confusion or dementia in the elderly. We have a quote here as well. It is still a possibility that he's in that wooded area because it's just so large. But we're searching with many resources as fast as possible because it's a very hot and very thick area. And someone of his age, we needed to find him as fast as possible. So after several days of intensive ground searching, we moved to the hope that someone had given him a ride. After he went missing, many of the town's police officers worked 18 straight days without a day off. The leads have tapered off, but he's promised the family that detectives won't stop the search until he's found. This is very sad, man. And they're saying there's a lot of calls coming in with tip lines. They can be very helpful, but in some instances, not this kind of instance, but there's, when it's crimes and people on the run, you always got to worry about misinformation and stuff like that. But this is obviously a total different situation. I don't really see anyone out there giving bad info on a missing elderly person, right? But as far as the tips and calls coming in, quote, we couldn't even respond to them all. We had to turn away well-meaning citizens during the nighttime infrared searches and canine searches to avoid a false positive. And also his phone, right? He has a Kenyan. He had a Kenyan phone with him when he disappeared. So the feds got involved in, Nairobi. They collabed together, and the local carrier put a track on the phone. This process took several days, which is unfortunate, with a missing elderly dude who could be in danger. It's like anyone missing, you want this to happen fast, but unfortunately the process can take some time. But the phone last pinged in Frankfurt, Germany, right? Indicating it may have been in airplane mode, which everyone knows when you take a flight, right? Or if you don't know, now you know. They ask you to put your phone in airplane mode, and they actually say during the whole flight attendant presentation and the pilot addressing everyone over the loudspeaker, right? Like, that it's illegal to record or, use your phone outside of airplane mode. So the Kenyan didn't have his passport, which contains his B2 visitor to the U.S. He may have had some money in Kenyan currency, but none in U.S. dollars, his family says. So again, here you are, missing 72-year-old Kenyan man, missing for 7 weeks. I mean, you hear all the circumstances. This is pretty frightening, man. It was urgent to really do all we could to try to find him. It's just such a sad case, but it's also given us an opportunity. I did not know we had Kenyans living here. Well, maybe because none of them have ever been in any trouble. That's kind of an odd quote from law enforcement, I guess, right? Or he was just thinking out loud during speaking to the media or what. But, you know, the relatives are, like I said, the son is beating himself up. Like, I maybe shouldn't have invited him or what, you know, which, like I said, in messed up situations, man, it can be toxic to think in many ways, you know what I'm saying? But they're saying the relatives, period, are all tripping, and also relatives back home, I believe, right? Because he has 4 kids, 2 in Kenya and 2 in the U.S. And one lives in Washington, and you know, one lived in the area, obviously, where he went missing. But very sad, man. Families praying. Again, 7 weeks have passed. The 17-year-old grandson crossed the stage to get his diploma. His relatives clapped and cheered, determined to stay strong. So imagine that too. Families coming across the globe for this big moment, and for him to not be there, like, you know, it's like a bittersweet moment. The kid's graduating, but everyone's freaking out. Where's Grandpa at? Quote, it was tragic, but I tried not to let it get to me or bring me down all the way. I pray for him to stay safe. That's Byron again, the grandson who was graduating. You know what I mean? So what do you guys think about all this with the dementia, the way it was reported, and the fact that he seemed to have his ish together before leaving, but then, I don't know, he just wandered off in this way. And actually, since he's been missing, I've been saying he's 72. June 3rd marked his 73rd birthday, and they also had a big party that was planned for that day as well as Father's Day that he was going to be in town for. You know what I mean? That was going to be the last weekend that the family was in town from Kenya. And they were going to roast a goat, a Kenyan delicacy, and invite friends and family from all over the U.S. to celebrate. Maybe they would have worn their matching shirts. That was part of the sentimental gifts that I was speaking about that he brought. But no party, you know what I mean? Just worry and prayers, and 7 weeks passing. It's terrible, man. It's straight up unsolved mystery. The son owns a trucking company, and he's been taping flyers at rest areas and truck stops wherever he goes. Every time he passes a wooded area, he slows down and peers into the trees. I can't even imagine this, man. You know what I mean? I've had missing family members before. Thank God we found them. But it's just, story really struck a chord. It was just very sad, man. And also just what a fucked up mystery, you know? Like, does the guy have dementia? Did it really start from this flight? Do you believe that could play a factor into making that initiate within the brain? Or, because like I said, it seems like he had it together, but then they're talking about undiagnosed dementia. I don't know. There's just so many unanswered questions with all this. So very, very sad story. Share your thoughts below. Subscribe to the channel for updates. And stay tuned for mysteries, crime stories, true crime stories, and just other similar and related content.